Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the second to last of the WWF Wrestling Superstars LJN Tuesday show. Today, we are going to focus on the LJN Superstar posters. So today's going to be a little bit different. I am not going to be on camera, and I am actually going to bounce around a little bit because we're not just simply going to look at the posters that I have framed. Now, as you can see, I do have some of the posters not only up there, but they do kind of like wrap around over there. They wrap around over here. I have some over here, and I have some in this little portfolio binder. So I pulled some of the picture frames from over here. We're going to start with those, and then I'm going to move on to some of the loose posters that I have in this little picture book. Now, same thing that I have with the carded figures, right? Carded figures, posters, loose figures, bendies, thumb wrestlers. I basically have the setup all the same way. So all of the figures are all basically in the exact same order. So as I'm going through this picture book, if I don't have a particular poster here, I'm going to kind of bounce around and start looking at the poster up here. So that's going to kind of how I'm navigating this video. So yes, we are going to be bouncing around a little bit here and there, but just kind of give you a heads up of how this video is going to look, how it's going to differ from other videos. So it's not going to be pretty stationary for the most part. But let's get to it. So first one we are going to start off with is Series 1, which is Andre the Giant with the long-haired version. Fun fact about this particular poster. Now, if you guys have been paying attention to Ahmad over, owner of Latuni, when he comes out with his new Andre the Giant releases, and of course, those Andre the Giant figures are going to be like extra large, right? 10 inches plus. And of course, extra large card backs, super thick card backs, right? If you actually look at the back of his card backings, he's going to have posters. The card backs is going to look just like this. And I absolutely love that aspect because it's going to give you a nice, flashback to the 1980s, to this particular poster. So I love that. That aspect of his card backs, but that's going to be a review for another time, right? But in the meantime, Andre the Giant, this is probably one of my top 5, maybe top 10 favorite posters from the line. And, that's basically synonymous with Andre, right? He was always in these little handicap matches, 2-on-1, 3-on-1, and that was his deal. He kind of stockpiled the guys on top of each other, and then he'd sit on them, and that's how he would pin them, and basically pin 2 or 3 on top of one another. And it was just so crazy fun to see that. And, as 500 plus pounds, he probably outweighed the other 2 guys by themselves. So, 2 guys, weigh what, 400 pounds? And here he was, 500, 525 by himself. So, Andre the Giant, crazy fun, loved it. Next one up, Series 1, Big John Stud. So Mattel Elite, I think they came out with a very similar, was it Elite? I think it's Elite. Do I have one over here? Like I said, I'm probably going to be bouncing around a little bit. Do I have one over here? Yeah, I think this figure right here. When you throw on the robe right here, I think that one is supposed to emulate the LJN poster. And you actually throw on the robe. Because these posters are going to go by really quickly, I'm probably going to go off on these little tangents here and there. So, but something like that, nice, again, a nice little throwback, here and there. with these new companies when they kind of like reminiscent with these certain characters from the 80s, 90s, etc. Of course, Big John Studd, one of his thing was stepping over the rope, right? You know, the man was, you know, what was it, like 6'10", something like that? You know, huge, right? And freaking Giant Guns, or Andre the Giant hated that. Andre the Giant wanted to be the only giant in the WWF. And, you know, Andre, he was about the same size. I mean, Andre was like, what, 7'1", something like that? 7'4". I'm hearing contradicting sizes. Some people say he was as small as 6'10". I hear some people say he was as tall as 7'4", but I don't think he was that tall. I think he was probably closer to 7'1". And, you know, Big John Studd was like 6'10", so they were about the same size, very, very close. But, you know, in size, as far as girth, I mean, Big John Studd was like 365 or something. You know, probably less than 400 pounds, and yeah, Andre's over 500. So, oh yeah, you get in the clutches of Andre, and you're gonna get pummeled. Plus, I hear that in real life, Big John Studd was like one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. So, I mean, that kind of sucked. That, you know, he didn't have the best relationship with Andre, but. And then Hulk Hogan. I never really liked the facial look of this poster for whatever reason. I don't know, it just kind of looked weird to me. But it's Hogan, man. And this has got to be one of the most important posters of the entire collection. Plus, I love the aspect that they have the green title belt. And I always looked at that and I'm like, maybe it's just discolored. Maybe it's supposed to be a black title belt, but no. Every time I look closer and closer, it's green. And I've had multiple different posters, and you know, even if you say, well, it's faded, no, it's always green. So I love the fact that they had that, you know, 1984, him winning that green belt from the Iron Sheik. So that was pretty awesome that they put the green title belt for his poster. You know, that's always pretty amazing. And it's just one of the coolest looking posters from the line. Just like you absolutely have to have you and Hulk Hogan as part of your LJN collection. The poster may not be one of the most rare posters. I mean, if you get on YouTube, if you get on eBay, I mean, individual poster might go for like $10. I mean, if you're looking for like a more crispier one, you could probably get it for like $20. You know, it's not like it's like crazy expensive, but it is doable if you want to pick one up for your collection. I think most of these posters can go for anywhere between $7 to $20. Especially around Series 1. I mean, if you're trying to win them on auction, they could go for less than $20. Now, if you're trying to do a buy it now on a lot of these, yeah, people are probably going to post them for like $30, higher sometimes. But auction really tells you the value of a lot of these items. And of course, Iron Sheik. In his actual poster, it actually looks like he's wearing like blue jeans. But then when you look at his actual LJN figure itself, it looks like he's wearing like, I don't know, like spandex or something. So I always found that to be fascinating. But Iron Sheik. Now, Jimmy Snuka has some of my least favorite action figures ever on a consistent basis. But I've always enjoyed his poster, mostly because I love the aspect of him flying through the air like so. Like he's about to squash somebody, so his poster is pretty cool. And, he does have like his facial image on the poster is pretty solid. So, and I love the hair. Wild man hair. Back in Afghanistan, like when I worked for Mantech, 2011 through 2014, like 2012, I had long blonde hair and everything, and I'd like walk into DFAC, and back in camp, I'm back on Firebase Thomas and Shinden. Anytime I walk into the DFAC, one of the team guys, every time he saw me, wow, man, because the wind's blowing, my long hair would always be like all over the place. Of course, I never really understood the appreciation of long hair because I didn't have long hair for the majority of my life. So when I used to wash my hair, like, I didn't understand or I didn't appreciate the use of shampoo and conditioner. Like, I'd wash my hair with anything. Like, I'd get me a bar of soap and wash my hair with that if that's what I had. Yes, that's how stupid I was. I would wash my hair with shampoo. I would wash my hair with conditioner. I'd wash my hair with bar soap. I'd wash my hair with freaking body wash. I mean, whatever soap I had, I'd wash my hair with whatever. So it didn't matter, right? Nowadays, it's like, damn, shampoo, conditioner. I make sure that my hair is puffy and and so, yeah, man, like, so if it's the day before, right, and I'm washing my hair with freaking hand soap, just imagine what your hair would look like the next day with the wind blowing and that crap. Oh my God, you look at Jimmy Snuka, my hair didn't do that justice. That looked solid compared to what my hair used to look like. It looked like crap. Off topic. Let's move on to the next one. Hillbilly Jim. Do I need to get a custom of Hillbilly Jim without shirt? I mean, I've got so many Hillbilly Jim figures, and I'm probably gonna, and I think I sent a bunch to my buddy Rob to like customize for me. And most of them are just gonna be like simple paint changes, changing the red shirt to like yellow shirt, green shirt, white shirt, whatever. Just simple changes. And I'm just gonna throw on my custom wall, but because Hillbilly Jim, it's not a valuable figure. It's like, $3 to $6 in value if you're going to sell it on auction, right? So it's not worth giving up. It's one of my favorite figures. I'm like, no, I will do a simple paint change and keep it for myself. But if someone out there can like remove the shirt and have something like this, I think that'd be a fun addition for the collection. So Hillbilly Jim. Rody Piper. Now, it's odd because I thought I had two of these. Now, I know Rody Piper actually has two posters. I believe he has one that actually says Hot Rod on the t-shirt. And I think the secondary poster, obviously the one here with the Puma. Or am I incorrect? Is it just the Puma? No. I'm about 90% sure, not 99% sure, but I'm about 90% sure that there is a secondary poster with Hot Rod on the shirt. So maybe after this video, maybe I'll jump on eBay and try to find that poster. And if I can find it, maybe I'll include it. Maybe I'll purchase it and include it next week in the last video. And kind of include it as like a special inclusion for that particular video. Special shout out to Random Treasures for their Roddy Piper figure that they came out with about a month and a half ago. I actually did purchase all three of their variants. It's the first time I actually purchased all of their variants it was such a fantastic figure, and I loved all of the variations of the figure that I absolutely had to get all of them. I couldn't pass. I couldn't pick a favorite, right? Did I want the white shirt Hot Rod? Did I want the white shirt Puma? Or did I want the black shirt Hot Rod? I couldn't pick. So I decided to go for all of them, and I'm glad I did. It's one of their all-time greatest figures to their roster, and Roddy Piper is one of my top 10 all-time favorite wrestlers, and he's got an amazing poster. Nikolai Volkov. I mean, he's got a relatively simple poster. I mean, not an overly over-the-top poster, but it's still a fun one nonetheless. Nice one to add to the collection. Nice one to... It's a shame that I didn't start putting like Series 1 and onward on the ledge around the room. But I have kind of like all of Series 1 up front here along the fireplace, so that it's all easily accessible and can be easily seen. And I think that was important to keep all of Series 1, closer to me. So I start Series 2 at the top of the ledge. An awesome facial expression. And the 9th and final poster for Series 1, the Junkyard Dog. With chain. Now, even though the figure comes with 3 different chain accessories with silver, black, and red, to the best of my knowledge, I don't think the poster ever changes, regardless of what variant you got MOC. You can open up an MOC red chain variant. I'm 99.9% sure the poster will still be this exact same version. So, I don't think the poster ever changes. Someone out there, if they have a different version, can correct me if I'm wrong, but like I said, I'm about 99.9% sure that the poster is always the same. Same thing with Corporal Kirchner. You can have one of the 3 variants of Corporal Kirchner. His poster will always be the same. 99.9% sure of that. Alright. So, that is Series 1. Series 2 moves on to Brutus Beefcake. I don't know why, but when I look at this, he doesn't really give me, Barber vibes, not really. And I know he didn't really become Barber until like, 87, I think, 87 or 88. I want to say 87. And Series 2 came out in 85, so, but he gives me more like, butler type of vibes or something like that, or male stripper or something like that. And one of the funkiest posters, they did not do Greg Valentine. They did not do him justice at all. Like, they tried their best to give him like some kind of, abs or whatnot, but it's like they took King Kong Bundy. It's like King Kong Bundy and Greg Valentine made a fat baby together. What is this? Like some kind of pigman or something. Pigman with abs, or I don't know. I can't even describe it. It's so freaking awkward, man. Like, if I'm Greg Valentine, I would have sued LJN for this. This is so humiliating. I mean, like I said, they tried giving him abs and everything and put muscles on his legs, but like there's just so much fat to his body. I mean, he wasn't exactly the skinniest man in the world, but like, he wasn't this. He wasn't Mr. Pigman. Like, ew. It's just so odd. And I'm not fat shaming anybody or anything like that. It's just, this particular is just so awkward. All right, so I got to keep everything in order, right? So, after we look at Greg Valentine, next up is George Steele. And hopefully this right here is going to work out for me just by holding up the tripod. And hopefully this camera doesn't fall out of the tripod. Yeah. I'm going to hold this camera so it doesn't fall like that. Yep. Yeah, the camera wasn't sitting in the tripod strong, and I kind of had a feeling that was going to happen. I'm not going to edit that out. You guys get to witness my failure as a cameraman. All right, next up. Yeah, I'm going to not use the tripod. I think I can hold the cell phone. It's fine. And King Kong Bundy. Like I said, it's like Greg Valentine, King Kong Bundy had a baby, right? At least King Kong Bundy was a big, hefty 450-pounder, right? So at least his poster makes sense. But even him, like all of those rolls and folds and everything, they were not kind to this man at all with this photograph. And I get it. These are cartoon caricatures a lot of time, but they could have done them justice somewhat. But this is just so poorly done. Do I hate the posters? No. I mean, Greg Valentine, I'm like, yeah. King Kong Bundy, I'm not so much against. All right. So after Bundy, we've got Paul Orndorff. All right. Paul Orndorff. So I realize a lot of these other posters, like those over there, I may not be able to reach. So hopefully I'll be able to do something with those. We'll see. Poor Paulo, man. He just looks like he's constipated. But, he's making the muscles and everything, and look how ripped they make this man, right? I mean, outside the face, but, he's just striking a pose. Getting his ripped pose in there and whatnot. So, it's like, why do they do him justice? But look what they do to Bundy and Steele and Valentine, right? So it's just like, yeah. You know what? I actually think, yep. I think that Brutus Beefcake and Greg Valentine posters up there, I think those two are signed. That's awesome. I really got to pay more close attention to some of my posters. Next one up, Bobby Heenan. And Bobby. Don't call me Weasel. I think Bobby Heenan's probably one of the more affordable posters. All right, Bobby Heenan. And then Bruno Sammartino. So like some of these poses, with like Sammartino, right? They're like old school. You think about wrestlers, high school and collegiate wrestlers, right? What we would call like real wrestling and not. Well, professional wrestling is it's still 50. What I would classify as 50% sports, 50% acting, right? But when you think high school wrestling or college wrestling, it's real wrestling. It's Rick Steiner, headgear and singlets on the mat wrestling type of deal. But you think about these old poses, and you think about guys from like the 40s and 50s and 60s and type of poses that they used to get into. You think about like Ivan Putski and Bruno Sammartino, and you think about those guys, right? Killer Kowalski and these old school guys. So you look at that, and you look at like Bruno Sammartino's fighting pose, these crouches and stuff, and it makes sense why they have like these type of looks and whatnot, these type of poses. So, all right, Freddy Blassie. Next one up, we got Beno. Just enough space to look at the cap. Alright, focus. There we go. Look at that handsome mug. I like his t-shirt. You know what? I want to get me a Captain Beno t-shirt. That's freaking awesome. Alright, Beno. Then we followed up with Freddy Blassie. Alright. He's a little too positive, a little too energetic. Corporal Kirchner. I love his jungle boots. Damn, back in high school, JROTC, we actually bought some jungle boots, and I have no idea whatever happened to those suckers. They're like the only jungle boots I ever had. Now, obviously, in basic training, we had like these all black, boots that we had for our BDUs. Later on in the Army, when we went on deployment, we had our DCUs, our Desert Camouflage uniform, and they give you those brown suede boots. And later on, we moved to the Army Combat uniform, and you still had brown suede boots. But, this right here, you don't have like jump boots or anything like that. The only time you get that stuff is like if you're like airborne, aerosol type of deal. So I like this look better. Deep forest camouflage. And do I have... I do not. Alright, trying to look over here. Who is after? Alright, next up, Bulldogs. Thought I had Bulldogs on individual poster, but I do not. So we're going to move to Bulldogs as tag team posters. Look at that. I freaking love their darn boots, man. I'm like a fanatic for darn boots. Among the posters, this right here is like one of the holy grails, man. Basically, any of the tag team posters when it comes to LJN are like holy grails. Because these darn things individually are like crazy darn expensive. I mean, all of the damn tag team posters are like hundreds of dollars a piece. Insane, right? Got Dynamite and Davey Boy. Got the championship belts. British Bulldogs. Alright, next one up. We got Jesse Ventura. Alright, so this is working so far for me. So far, so good. Jesse Ventura. And then Jimmy Hart. Now, if only I could find Macho Man as the live action black card. That is an absolute holy grail poster. My God. I've come across some folks, I think one on eBay, one on Facebook. I know my buddy Mikey Mojo, I know he's got one that he had up for sale, but anytime you come across that, guys have it for like, have the poster, they got the figure, they got the, what else they had? They might have the card backing, but they're all like loose, right? And nobody wants to split that stuff up. Or if they do split it up, you really got to make it worth people's while. And that stuff, it sells for like $1,500, right? I mean, the live action Series 6 black card poster of Macho Man, you're probably talking high hundreds, you know, hovering around the $1,000 mark. So is that something I will ever financially buy? Probably not. It's a holy grail piece, but I just, for a poster, I just don't see it happening. Alright, Don Morocco. You know, I find this fascinating. So, I'm going to point this out for you guys. Notice the yellow on the t-shirt, right? So, original design of Don Morocco actually had him with yellow lettering on the t-shirt. So this look right here is actually a prototype of the original Don Morocco design. Now when Don Morocco actually was released, a couple things different. Number one, the t-shirt obviously had white writing, and second, there were two lettering differences. You had large lettering and you had smaller lettering. And I think the knee pads, yeah, you see, when you look at the figure, no knee pads, right? White socks, red knee pads, no socks. So, you know, that's, you know, pretty interesting when you kind of look at this original prototype design. And so that's pretty awesome. But like I said, that yellow lettering, that's like the first thing that kind of jumped out at me. Next up, Mean Gene Okerlund. Again, Mean Gene Okerlund poster. This is another common. Pretty much anyone could pick up a Mean Gene for a relatively affordable price. Probably $10, but sometimes even less than $10 on auction. you want a pretty minty poster. I mean, pretty much any poster can, regardless of the character, can probably go for $20 or more. What do I always talk about? Condition, of course, but seller. Who are you buying it from? If it's a seller that has 1,000 followers, yeah, there's a chance you're gonna probably pay a good price for it. If it's a new seller or a seller that doesn't have the most followers in the world, you're probably gonna get it for a better price. So I think sellers are more important than the condition. All right, so after Mean Gene, hopefully I can reach over. So Mean Gene, and then we got Mr. Fuji. So I gotta stay way back here because there's just not enough walking space over there. Well, there's walking space, but I'm not gonna be able to like. All right, Mr. Fuji. And then Ricky Steamboat. I hate that. I hate that darn picture frame is smaller than the rest of them. I really gotta change out that picture frame. Although I do love his taekwondo, what they call that, a gi. So I do like that part of the poster. So yeah, I think Ricky Steamboat, I mean, he probably has like maybe a top 10, top 15 best poster. Okay. All right. SD Jones, Terry Funk. So with SD Jones, whether you're getting red shirt or yellow shirt, you're going to basically get the exact same poster, which has absolutely nothing to do with either of his figures. So I have no idea what this has to do with, the design of either look, but at least they got the blue boots and red trunks, right? I mean, I love the SD Jones LJN figure. Like I said, one of the most perfect wrestling action figures ever created. And very well possibly the number one greatest LJN from the line. If not the number one greatest, possibly number two, possibly number three. Once upon a time, I listed it at number 10. Definitely a top 10 best, not even a question. Today, like, I think about that list, and I'm like, was I on drugs? How could I put SD Jones at number 10? But, no. SD Jones, he's definitely a top 10, but I think he's right up there. Somewhere top 1, top 2, top 3, top 4, top 5. It doesn't matter where you place him. He's one of the best. But there's just so much that goes into the thought process of, how you rate a particular figure for whatever reason. Color scheme, play pose, accessory, name recognition, all of that stuff, right? So that's why it's so hard to rate LJNs in order. Terry Funk is next up. So I gotta say, when I started collecting posters a few years back, when this was, an integral part of the collecting process, Terry Funk was actually one of those posters I was actually very eager picking up. So I just thought that he had one of the coolest looking posters. So, guys like Outback Jack and Coco Beware, Jake Roberts, Billy Jack Haynes. So yeah, Terry Funk was one. I'm trying to think who else. So, but there were a number of guys. Adrian Adonis, perhaps, maybe. But there were so many posters I really enjoyed. I thought were super cool looking. So I'm like, I may not, at the time, may not have been a fan of the Terry Funk figure, but I really enjoyed his poster. So, all right. So, all right. So Terry Funk, and closing Series 3 is Tito Santana. Which, if you actually look at, what was it? I want to say WrestleMania 1. I could actually recall him wearing all purple. And I know that was like a common thing for him. You know, the not purple, but the red look. But when you actually look at his LJN's all purple, right? But I can actually recall him wearing red. I think most of people can recall him wearing all red. But I absolutely despise his LJN figure. What is it, like the number 2 or number 3? Number 3 or number 4 worst LJN figure ever made. All right, starting with Series 4. Series 4 is Billy Jack Haynes. Billy Jack Haynes, which does have obviously one of the coolest LJN figures of all time, and definitely probably one of the top 10 best posters, most definitely. Love that jacket, man. I need to get me one of those jackets. All right. So Billy Jack Haynes. Looking at my shelf. Who is after Billy Jack Haynes? Is it Adrian Adonis? So Billy Jack Haynes, Adonis, Killer Bees, Heart Foundation. Adrian Adonis is next. Adrian Adonis. At some point, somebody's got to come out with, like, you know, this scarf accessory, right? Which was supposed to be part of the original, you know, design, part of the original release, but never did. It's just, I think it's an important accessory for the figure. And then Killer Bees, and then Heart Foundation. All right. So it looks like I have one Killer Bee individual. So I got B. Brian Blair, but no Jim Brunzell. I could have sworn I had both of them. But that is B. Brian Blair. And since I'm over here for the Heart Foundation, I love that they spell Brett with 2 T's. That's so freaking awesome. Not really. It's kind of annoying. That is the single poster for Bret Hart. And again, I could have sworn I had Jim Neidhart individually, but I guess not. But kind of a side note with that red pants Bret Hart, right? Kind of a sidetrack. Was getting these Heart Foundation figures so that it mimics the actual poster. So that was so freaking awesome, right? That was so important to kind of get these guys in. That was Killer Bees individual poster, Heart Foundation individual poster, and of course Killer Bees tag team poster. B. Brian Blair. And then Jim Brunzell. And then Heart Foundation tag team poster. I don't know why they make Jim so slim right here, but like even his action figure, they make him like so slim. But the man was like so chunky, man. What's up with this? Look at B. Brian Blair. Look at his shoes. And look at Bret Hart's shoes. Right? Not identical, but close enough. But then you look at like their tag team partners. Like, why are the tag team partners' shoes like so different than the other guy? So weird. Yeah, this poster alone, I mean, that Heart Foundation tag team poster alone is probably worth like $500. When I bought this booklet, I won it on auction from eBay, I got it from a seller in Canada. So all the tag team posters, the black card posters that are in here, a lot of the other posters you saw in there, that's where I got a lot of the spares. I paid a pretty good penny on them, but imagine if I had to buy all of this stuff individually. You're probably talking, I mean, just for the tag team posters alone, I probably would have come out of pocket a few $1,000s. And that didn't happen. I won all of this on auction, and I basically got it for a fraction of the cost because I was able to win it on auction. And you know how many people are out there, you know, bidding on, you know, high dollar for posters, right? But getting this collection was so important for me. And I probably picked this up a good year ago or close to it, so it's not like this was something that I wasn't looking for or I didn't need. I mean, this was an integral part of the collection. All right, Orton. I'm looking at the names over there. Orton, Roberts, Elizabeth, Camala. I'm trying to keep these all in order. That's why I'm bouncing around. Bob Orton. I mean, again, here's another poster that I hate his figure, but I love his poster. I think he's got one of the best posters. Top 10, top 15 best poster, perhaps. I think he just has a fun poster. I still don't know a whole lot about Bob Orton. I didn't grow up watching him, but you know, his son is killing it, or has been killing it in wrestling for a number of years. But here is a man that I've grown up watching forever. I think he's an asshole because he keeps using a snake to destroy everybody. Andre the Giant, Macho Man. It's like, damn, dude. Kind of brutal, don't you think? But yeah, getting the Jake Roberts without snake on the pants variant. Oh my God, that was such a huge pickup. Another one of my favorite posters. Because, come on, look at that. Tell me that's not absolutely dynamic. All right, so Elizabeth, whether you're getting purple skirt or gold skirt, either of those two figures, it doesn't matter. You should have the exact poster on either one. So that is this one. That should come on either card backing. And then Camala. Again, if SD Jones isn't the #1 best LJN, maybe Camala is. But I backtrack. It's so difficult to choose your favorite LJN because different figures have different reasons for making the best case or being the #1 best figure for certain reasons. Big Boss Man has specific reasons. Hulk Hogan Series 1 has reasons. Camala, SD Jones has reasons. So Big John Studd still holds a special reason for being my #1 selection for X amount of reasons, right? So I don't know. It's so hard to choose. But love the mask and spear. So freaking cool. One of my favorite posters for one of my favorite characters. And was that the end of Series 4? Nope, we still got Series 4 continues with Hercules. Hercules Hernandez. All right. Series 4. And then got Harley Race, Coco, and Outback Jack. All right. Harley Race. Freaking amazing. Absolutely spot on with this poster. This is beginning of Series 5. Again, one of the absolute highlight posters. Coco Beware. Another highlight poster. Outback Jack. I don't remember when I got Outback Jack. Not this one, but the one that's hanging up over there. But he had to be like one of my very first posters. Like one of my first 5, first 10. I don't really remember when, but first 3. But he was a very early poster for me. Man, this guy's got a huge freaking bicep. Damn, dude. All right. So I'm going to put this book down here and walk with me. All right. So we ended at Outback Jack, right? Outback Jack. Next up was Ted Arciti, Ken Patera, Vince McMahon. All right. So now we gotta kind of like wrap around over here. So we got Ted Arciti. Guy looks pissed. Why are the muscle guys always look like they're pissed about something? I'm like, dude, you're built like a freight train. If I look like you, man, I'd be freaking like thrilled. Although I freaking hate that. Dude, get yourself some damn ankle socks. I could look like this guy if I came home wearing socks, you know, wearing darn calf socks like that, rolled up. Man, my wife would still ridicule the living crap out of me. Next up, we got Ken Patera. Ken Patera. Very simple poster, not too flashy. I mean, neither Ted Arciti or Ken Patera, neither one of those are like, you know, must have, oh my god, I gotta have them posters. Ted Arciti is definitely a passable poster. Ken Patera is, yeah, it's fine. Alright. Next one up is Vince McMahon. Now, Vince McMahon, again, is basically anything that's Vince McMahon related is basically valuable. MOC, loose. I mean, MOC, you're probably looking at, again, condition seller, anywhere between $250 to like $700 for an MOC figure. Loose, condition-wise, you're probably looking at anywhere between $100 to a couple $100 for a loose figure. Poster, shoot, $50 to $150 for a poster. So, I mean, even a poster has like significant value for Vince McMahon. I mean, it's just a very simple and plain poster, but I mean, who doesn't want Vinnie Mac, right? It's got to be one of the more rare posters out there. I think that's why it has such value attached to it. But your best bet is hope that this baby comes on auction and try to win it that way. Because if you try to find it like as a buy it now, someone's gonna have it listed for like $200 or something, and it just, I just don't see a $200 price tag for a Vince McMahon poster. You know what I mean? All right, Vince McMahon. Bam Bam, Honky, Jim Duggan. Then we got Bam Bam Bigelow. When did we move on to Series... Oh, we are on Series 5. Harley Race began Series 5. Bam Bam Bigelow. You know, I saw this in like one of my magazines. I'm like, man, that's such a freaking killer look. Of course, I already remembered that magazine because, or the magazine look, because that was obviously his poster. And I'm like, heck yeah. But I hated that. I mean, obviously Series 5 with the LJN figures themselves, you know, it's obviously synonymous because a lot of the figures became flesh tone with the color of the actual figure. Like, you know, Slick was a mostly gray figure, so its undertone was all gray. So if it has paint loss or paint bleed or something, it's going to have gray. Honky Tonk Man, it was a mostly blue figure, so its undertone was all blue, right? So if it had paint loss, guess what? It was blue. It wasn't flesh tone, etc. You know, One Man Gang, Bam Bam Bigelow, if it had paint loss, it was going to be all black because the undertone of it was black. But also, what was also annoying is you lost the blue posters with the cartoon caricatures in Series 5, and a lot of the stuff became live action posters, and that kind of lost the sentimental value with a lot of these posters. Now, obviously, in Series 5, you still have, some Series 5 figures with these, little caricatures, but you still have a lot of, live action mixed in with it, which was so dumb. But here's the problem. There are so many figures like Honky Tonk Man, like Jim Duggan, right? They were also re-released in Series 6 on Black Card. So when you look at this, are you looking at an original Series 5 release, or are you looking at a Series 6 Black Card re-release? Were they the exact same poster? That's the tough part. This could technically be a Series 6 re-release poster right here. In that case, that could make it more valuable, right? But I kind of treat it the same way that I would like a Hasbro Purple Heart Bret Hart. You could have a mail away Bret Hart in baggie worth $1,200. But if you take it out of the baggie, it's still a Bret Hart mail away. But you take it out of the baggie, it's no longer considered a mail away. Now it's just a regular Series 4 variant. Yeah, it's more valuable than a Pink Heart Bret Hart, but it's not a $1,200 figure anymore. Now it's like maybe an $80 figure to a $100 figure. So same concept applies with, like, a Jim Duggan or a Hulk Hogan or Honky Tonk Man. They might be Series 6 posters, but hey, how can you know for sure, right? So when you look at the Hogan, Honky Tonk Man, Jim Duggan, stuff like that, it's difficult to know if you have an original Series 5 poster or if you have one of the Series 6 re-releases. But like when you have like Macho Man I was talking about earlier, a Macho Man re-release on Black Card had a live action poster, so that is so much easier to determine a re-released Macho Man than a earlier Series 3 with a blue poster caricature. So I don't like these live action posters in Series 5. They're annoying. I'm familiar. I like the blue posters. Live action, they just don't do it for me the same way. But I mean, still, these posters, I mean, they're valuable. They go for anywhere between $50 to, let's say, $125 a piece. So there are a lot of money, a lot of value in these posters. But that is the Honky Tonk Man. Next up is Jim Duggan. Exile Jim Duggan. A fun thing to point out, though, the seller I bought this book from, right, he has a ton of black cards. So who's to say that a lot of these posters that we're looking at, Jim Duggan, Axe, Honky Tonk Man, and who else was out there? Hulk Hogan, etc. Who's to say that he didn't have these figures when he was a kid, right? And that he didn't have them in Canada on Black Card. So technically, these all could be Series 6 Black Cards that he had from childhood. I didn't even consider that. So these could be even more valuable than I even gave it credit for. But for the sake of argument, for the sake of this video, I am classifying these all as Series 5 because that's when the original posters were released, right? But when I'm looking at these posters, they're Series 5 for me. And these right here, they're still Series 5. Series 5X. And I want to see if there's a date on any of these. $1988. So Series 5. So Axe, followed by Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan, followed by Luscious Johnny Valiant. So I'm going to assume that both a white shirt and red shirt Hulk Hogan were both released with the exact same poster. And that both of them, when they were re-released on Blackcard, the next series, they came out with this exact same poster once again. I can't say 100% for sure, but I'm going to make that assumption. Again, if there's anyone in the comments who has any idea, and if I'm wrong, please fill me in, because I am not 100% positive on that, but I am going to make that assumption that that's accurate. And then Johnny Valiant. Johnny Valiant. Slick is next. So just follow the line, and no Slick. Keep following the line. Slick. I'm telling you, man, I'm bouncing around the place. This is such a fun video. That's the downside about having so much crap, is that you run out of space so easily. And I would love to have the whole room postered the way that I had up there, but just couldn't do it. Yeah, Slick. I mean, it's another very simple poster, not anything that I'm like crazy about, but it was part of the collection. So Slick, and all right, followed by One Man Gang. Oh, big fella. All right, I gotta go look at my individual figures to try and point out who's coming up. All right, so we've got Strike Force, the referees, and then Ted DiBiase. Strike Force, referees, Ted DiBiase. So One Man Gang, Strike Force, I know, guys, this video is so professionally done. First, dropping the phone all over the place. Now bouncing all over the place. Oh, God. We have fun on this channel, don't we? Alright, Strike Force. And, of course, referee didn't come with an official poster. But the referee actually came with the checklist. So this was actually right here. This was the poster for the referee. And in fact, the referee poster might be the most valuable poster of all time. How awesome is that? That the checklist or the referee poster, referee checklist might be the most rare and valuable of all of them. Let's see. But yeah. But no, this, like I said, this isn't a card back. This is literally the inside poster for the referee. For any of those who are thinking that this could be the card back, it's not. Actual poster. Oh, I inquired with Net over at Ram Treasures. So about a month or two ago, I sent her photos about getting me that blue shirt Hulk Hogan, the original prototype before they came out with the white and red shirt Hulk Hogan, right? So next week we're gonna look at the blue shirt Hulk Hogan prototype, and if anyone's interested, she did put that up on her page, so she is going to be selling that as part of her roster. So anyone wanting that blue shirt prototype will have the opportunity to buy that. I also sent her photos for these two prototypes as well. It's going to be the Coco Beware with blue pants, the original design for Coco Beware, before they came out with the red pants that we all know and love. And with Outback Jack, he's got sort of more of like a darker brown vest, and he has a sort of altered fighting pose with his arm positioning. So that's going to be, different as well. But yeah, man, this is pretty freaking awesome. Oh man, somebody scribbled on this. Somebody, I guess, at some point were checking off every figure that they had. Yeah, that sucks. Because this, like I said, this poster is like super rare, crazy valuable, and I hate that. I hate seeing these markings on here. Oh well. You know what? I never did show this off last week for the video games. Game Boy King of the Ring. I actually bought 2 different Game Boy Superstars. I think they're made by LJN as well. So I'm going to start some Game Boy wrestling collection as well. The Ted DiBiase poster. I think Ted DiBiase was the last of Series 5. Okay. All right. I think Ted DiBiase was last of Series 5. Yep. So, last 6 are the black cards. And Andre Bossman. So, we'll do Andre first. Andre. I might just slide this video in just under an hour and a half. Yeah, pretty much any of these black card posters, like I said, man, probably $250 plus. $500 maybe. I think if someone is desperate enough, yeah, I could probably see it going for $500. But I think $250 plus is a nice market value on these posters. If anybody's wondering, nope, I am not selling. That is Andre the Giant. And And Big Boss Man. Oh, yeah. Oh, Big Bubba. Definitely one of the most valuable posters ever. One of my absolute favorites, no doubt. So, Boss Man. Yeah, we looked at that tag team already. Rude. Then we got Haku. You know, I wonder if that's where they got that stupid freaking pose. My God. LJN Grand Toys, you guys, seriously? You took this stupid photograph and you made that horrible figure from this crap? Horrible. I am so disappointed. And they didn't even give you King Haku, so this darn pose still made no darn sense. Very, very disappointing. Rick Rude. Freaking guy was ripped like crazy. God dang. Jealous, jealous, jealous. I swear to God, man, all these dudes in the 80s had all these damn porn stashes. You see the Ultimate Warrior back when he was a Dingo Warrior? You see his porn stash? I mean, damn, it's been like, 40 plus years. Hulk Hogan still hasn't been able to get rid of his. I'm not saying shave that shit, but I'm just saying, trim it or do something. Nah, man, Hogan can't shave that mustache. That thing is legendary. Hulk Hogan would not be who he is without that mustache. And one of the greatest posters known to mankind, the 89 Blue Ultimate Warrior. I one day am going to get me a freaking an Ultimate Warrior of this exact look. The Blue Ultimate Warrior with that awesome face paint. Whether it's Hasbro or LJN, I am going to get me a custom of that one way or another. Hell, I don't care if it's a Darren Mattel Retro. I will get me one. I just want that look because it's just so freaking awesome. And yes, because anything Ultimate Warrior LJN is super valuable, super rare. This poster, it just doesn't exist on the market. So, like, what is the value of this poster? I don't know. I don't have anything to compare it to. It could be a $200 poster. It could be a $2,000 poster for all I know. I just don't have a comparison. I would assume it's at least a couple $100, but like I said, it could be a $500 poster. It could be a $1,000 poster. I don't know. It's rare. I know that. I know it's valuable. And it's not for sale. And the last poster from the LJN line, we have Warlord. But of course, when you look at the back of the cards, it does not say Warlord. It says Powers of Pain. Because they were supposed to release both members, and that just did not happen. So, but the only person really focusing on is Warlord, because that's the only person that we got from the roster was Warlord. But here is the Powers of Pain poster. I mean, it's a freaking awesome poster with the tag team. Again, jump on Etsy, get yourself a Barbarian if you're interested. It's one of the greatest LJN figures, not even just from Ram Treasures. Barbarian in general, I think it's one of the best playable figures. Because they utilize the exact same pose, Mr. T, you know, it's right up there among my favorite figures of all time. So, but if you're an LJN collector and you don't have Barbarian, you know, thank you 10 on Etsy, Random Treasures, you know, save yourself 10%, you know, get it for around 125, 130 bucks instead of like the 140, 145 you would pay without that discount. So, you know, obviously, like I said, some of the re-releases like Elizabeth and $1 Million Man, Big John Studd. I talked about the live action Macho Man, which I really is like the only one I can actually think of that might actually have a legitimate re-released poster. I don't know if any other characters had re-released posters. I'm assuming probably Big John Studd maybe might have a live action poster, possibly, but I don't know. But these are pretty fun. These have nothing to do with LJN. These are Mattel, I believe. Or AEW All Elites. So I just put these in here because they are, you know, kind of like mimicking the Wrestling Superstars with Darby Allin and the 2 releases of Cody Rhodes, either with blue pants or red pants. These figures right here. So very LJN-esque, right? So I just thought they were fun additions. But guys, that is the LJN Wrestling Superstars posters review, series 1 through 6, 1984 to 1989. At over an hour and 20 minutes, I'm exhausted. As always, guys, you know, thank you so much for tuning in. I look forward to talking to you all in the comments, and please be sure to tune in next Tuesday as we review the prototypes and variants, and that will close out the Tuesday show with the LJN Wrestling Superstars. It's been a long last few months with these shows, with these LJNs, but man, it's been a blast. Thanks again, everybody. I'll talk to you soon. Take care, everybody.